All around Makita's Cookies, where Dolph was shot down, are businesses with security video cameras. Surveillance video will be important to show exactly what happened here, and one camera should have caught it all.
Yo Gotti's bulletproof Rolls Royce just got blasted with 60 rounds, and the whole city is buzzing about who really pulled those triggers. Streets across Memphis are loud right now, with people whispering names and pointing fingers about the bold move that nearly caught the CMG boss slipping. Word on the block says members tied to PRE slid through in broad daylight, aiming straight at Gotti's ride in what looked like serious retaliation for young Dolph. This wasn't some quick pull-up and dash situation. Whoever did it came heavy, spraying round after round at the luxury whip while people nearby couldn't believe what they were seeing. The aftermath footage started spreading fast, bouncing from phone to phone across Memphis like wildfire.
Example of senseless crime in Memphis has many asking, when will it stop?
What's even crazier is the deeper story behind this chaos. The tension between Paper Route Empire and CMG had already been boiling for a long time, but moments like this pushed things into dangerous territory. Yo Gotti was always seen as untouchable in Memphis, the guy with power all over the city, from Beale Street all the way out to the highways. But PRE wasn't backing down from anybody, not even the so-called king of the city. That wild 60-round spread Gotti's ride didn't just miss its target. It turned the heat all the way up and helped spark one of hip-hop's most intense rivalries, with people in Memphis watching every move like it's a real street chess game. To really understand this drama, you gotta rewind the clock to where the tension first started. Back around 2014, Memphis had two rising stars who could have easily been allies in the same city. Instead, they ended up standing on opposite sides. Young Dolph was moving as the independent boss.
Gotti was in town for a family function, family event, and he was in his Rolls Royce truck, and instead they pulled up on the side of him. They let out about 60 rounds into his Rolls Royce truck, but he was bulletproof.
Building Paper Route Empire from the ground up with his own grind and vision. At the same time, CMG already had CMG moving like a powerful machine with major label backing and industry connections. The city was big enough for both of them, but pride, money, and business moves started creating distance between the two camps. According to Hernandez Garvin, who recently beat his case connected to the Dolph investigation, the real story behind the tension might not be what people think. A lot of rumors have floated around over the years, but he pushed back on one popular story. As he explained, the story about it being about a girl or whatever the case may be. I heard that also, but that's absolutely not true. It was just a potential business deal gone bad from what I understand. But the situation gets even deeper when you look at the old Memphis connections surrounding Yo Gotti, Gucci Mane, and the people around him. Some insiders claim the tension between Gotti and Gucci had its own complicated history tied to personal relationships. One Memphis insider explained it like this: Gotti didn't rape Gucci's woman. Gotti got with the woman who wanted to get with him freely and voluntarily. Simple as that. She was getting around Keisha. Kawi was not Gucci Mane's first nothing.
Going around right now that Yo Gotti has allegedly survived several attempts on his life this year.
Back during that same time, Yo Gotti reportedly wanted young Dolph to join CMG, and the offer was serious money with big opportunities attached. But Dolph already had strong ties with Gucci Mane, and with tension already floating between Gucci and Gotti, that business move started looking a lot more complicated than it seemed on the surface. When things move in the streets, loyalty gets heavy, sometimes even heavier than money. Once sides get chosen, there is no halfway stepping. Young Dolph made his choice, and that single decision changed the whole direction of this situation in Memphis. At the time, Dolph and Gucci Mane were known to be close. Their connection ran deep, and that friendship mattered when big business decisions started showing up. Meanwhile, the relationship between Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti had already been cooling off over the years.
And since then, he got all his fucking cars bulletproof.
According to Hernandez Garvin, that tension played a major role in Dolph deciding not to sign, given his reasons for not wanting to sign CMG. And in a city like Memphis, avoiding problems is almost impossible. Garvin even pointed that out clearly, saying, Memphis is small. Ain't like LA where you can avoid somebody for years. When you got two crews operating in the same city, when two powerful groups are moving in the same place, territory becomes serious business. Paper Route Empire was growing fast, While CMG was already established and holding major influence, the tension between both sides kept building like pressure locked inside a sealed pot ready to burst.
Now, for those of you who don't know who Yo Gotti is, he's a rapper turned CEO. He now signs artists.
Soon, every club, every studio session, and even regular city blocks started feeling like possible flashpoints. This wasn't just about two artists trading words anymore. Whole crews were connected, families were involved, and millions of dollars were floating around the situation. According to several sources, including statements connected to Govan, both camps were watching each other closely during that time. Things really escalated when young Dolph started firing off strong messages through his music. It wasn't just about declining business offers anymore. The lyrics got personal, questioning reputations and throwing direct shots that had people across Memphis talking. Govan even mentioned during his Vlad TV interview, "I don't think you can go find one song where you hear Yo Gotti dissing Dolph."
And all this that I'm telling you is coming from one of his former security guards.
He continued saying, "It was more so Dolph every time. Every other song he dropped, he was mentioning Gotti and Juke and sometimes his family." According to him, that constant back and forth energy is what really started turning up the heat. But according to court testimony and several sources, this situation was never just about music. Behind the scenes, people say real attempts were being made from both sides. The Sprinter van shooting that many people talk about was only a small piece of a much bigger story. Discovery evidence and testimony pointed to multiple failed attempts on Dolph's life over the years. Somehow, he kept surviving each situation, and instead of slowing down, his moves started getting even bolder. Now here is where things take a serious twist. A well-known and respected NBA player from Memphis reportedly stepped in and tried to calm everything down. According to Hernandez Govan's testimony, that player contacted a respected club promoter and asked him to reach out to both sides to try and end the conflict before things got worse.
Who basically said that since then he's been spending more time like low-key and being around his family.
The promoter reportedly contacted Yo Gotti first, and Gotti was open to the idea of talking things out. Gotti was willing to sit down, have a real conversation, and possibly meet with Dolph to settle the tension. But when that same club promoter tried reaching Dolph, the response went in a completely different direction. According to the account, Dolph said no, hung up the phone, and blocked the promoter. The message was clear. He was not interested in ending the feud. Looking back, many people say the entire situation might have been avoided if pride and egos had not been standing in the way. That moment became a major turning point in the story, when wealthy artists with huge influence refuse to make peace while the tension keeps rising through music and street pressure. The situation can spiral fast. Soon, the conflict grew even deeper when Big Juke, Yo Gotti's older brother and a powerful figure behind CMG, stepped directly into the picture. Unlike the others, Juke was not known for rapping. He was known for handling serious business behind the scenes. Big Juke had a reputation in Memphis that went way beyond music.
Does he know that something bad can happen to him, so I guess he's just spending as much time as he can with his family?
People in the city knew him as someone who handled situations the old school way. He wasn't chasing fame or trying to be a rapper. He was known as a street figure who stood behind his family and his circle, and when problems showed up, he believed in dealing with them directly and seriously. Things reportedly reached another boiling point after a tense moment involving Key Glock at Memphis International Airport. According to Hernandez Govan, Juke and Glock ended up on the same plane leaving Memphis one day, leaving Memphis International Airport, and they had an altercation, and Glock ended up spitting on Juke. Govan explained the impact of that moment, saying, "Juke and Glock ended up on the same plane one day, leaving Memphis International Airport, and they had an altercation, and Glock ended up spitting on Juke." He continued, "That kind of amplified things, and now it kind of like reignited." But even before that airport clash, Juke had already been showing frustration in public. There is footage of him walking through Memphis International Airport when he noticed a wall mural that included young Dolph. Clearly upset, he reacted right there on camera and said, "Whoever painted this, don't paint no sucker beside two real ones with a sucker in the middle. Man, y'all don't do that, man. Don't talk about legacy."
Because if you don't know, Yo Gotti's blood brother was killed recently.
But 2021, the tension had reportedly reached dangerous levels. Court documents and testimony suggested that there was a $100,000 bounty placed on young Dolph. At the same time, sources say people connected to PRE were also moving carefully and watching their surroundings closely. The situation had turned into a serious standoff where everyone believed the other side might strike first. Then came one of the wildest moments in this entire story. According to Hernandez-Govin's testimony and discovery evidence from the case, PRE members allegedly made a move on Yo Gotti roughly 1 month before the tragic incident at Makita's Cookies. Govin explained that Gotti was in Memphis attending a family event and was riding in his Rolls-Royce truck when another vehicle pulled up alongside him. Suddenly, the attackers opened fire and unloaded around 60 rounds into the luxury vehicle. As Govin described it during his interview, somebody pulled up on the side of him and they let out about 60 rounds into his Rolls-Royce truck, but he was bulletproof. Think about that for a second. 60 rounds hitting that vehicle. That was not a warning or a scare tactic. Whoever did it clearly meant serious business. This wasn't some small incident or random street moment.
Maybe 2023 or 2024 if I'm not mistaken. But the shit definitely happened a short time after young Dolph passing.
According to testimony and people close to the situation, it looked more like a full military-style ambush happening right in broad daylight on the streets of Memphis. The shooters reportedly pulled up prepared, opened fire rapidly, and tried to destroy Yo Gotti's vehicle with a heavy spray of bullets. The attack looked organized and aggressive, not something thrown together at the last minute. Sources connected to the case claim the move wasn't random at all. Word circulating in Memphis suggested that the people behind the attack had detailed information about Gotti's movements. According to statements discussed during interviews, there were claims that young Dolph had been talking confidently about sending people to confront Gotti. One account described it like this: Dolph had an aunt or a cousin or something over there that lived by his dad, and Dolph had been bragging on the drill that he sent some people to get up with Gotti. Based on what Big Juke was reportedly told afterward, the shooters seemed to know key details: the vehicle Gotti used, the areas he moved through, and parts of his routine. The setup looked like an ambush that might have caught almost anyone else off guard.
For those of you who don't know who young Dolph is, he's another rapper from Memphis who was killed.
But one major factor helped Gotti survive that day. Gotti had already been moving with serious caution because he knew tensions were high. His Rolls-Royce had bulletproof protection, something he reportedly chose specifically because of the ongoing conflict around him. While many people ride through the city in regular cars, Gotti was moving like someone expecting danger at any moment. That armored vehicle ended up being the main reason he walked away from the attack. But here's the part many people in Memphis still talk about. Even with that level of danger surrounding him, Gotti reportedly kept moving around the city and attending family events. Some observers felt that was extremely risky considering everything that had already happened. One person commenting on the situation said, "There's no way that I would have been moving like that, considering what happened prior to that." And he knew what happened prior to that. The shooting itself was intense enough that many people believe it should have made major national headlines. 60 rounds fired from automatic weapons in broad daylight is the type of situation that normally brings heavy law enforcement attention and wall-to-wall news coverage. But according to several accounts, the situation stayed unusually quiet. Gotti didn't take the situation to social media and reportedly didn't push the incident into the spotlight, allowing the entire event to slip mostly under the radar despite how serious it was. As Hernandez-Govin explained, investigators were already aware that the shooting happened. He stated, "They knew about it with the detectives and stuff. They knew because it's in our discovery." That detail matters a lot. When something appears in discovery evidence, it means the information is documented, reviewed, and part of an official investigation. This wasn't just street gossip or social media talk floating around the internet. According to the testimony, there were records suggesting that people connected to PRE came extremely close to seriously harming the CMG boss. The fact that law enforcement reportedly knew about the incident, but the public barely heard about it, shows how complex the situation had become. Authorities were paying attention to the tension building between the groups and were documenting incidents as they unfolded. Even with that attention, the conflict kept escalating behind the scenes. While the wider public remained mostly unaware, people across Memphis were talking about it. Word moved quickly through the city that PRE had allegedly taken a shot at Gotti but didn't succeed. In street culture, an attack like that changes the entire energy of a conflict. Once someone makes a move at a major figure and it fails, the pressure rises even higher. But according to Gavin's testimony, retaliation discussions were already happening even before that shooting. He described meetings taking place at his house where people connected to the situation would show up unexpectedly. During one of those nights, he recalled a moment clearly. As he explained, on this particular night, when we were having the music meeting, it was a knock at the door, and I went to the door, and it was Cornelius Smith. He continued explaining that at first, he assumed Smith just wanted something small, like he sometimes asked for before. But Smith quickly made it clear he wasn't there for that. Gavin said the moment was serious enough that he stepped outside to hear what was really being said. That's when Cornelius Smith reportedly told him something that immediately raised alarms. According to Gavin, Smith said, "Man, they ain't trying to do nothing about Dolph trying to kill Gotti." That conversation was happening right at Gavin's house while Big Juke was inside for what was supposed to be a regular music meeting about getting straight drops signed to CMG. But the second the topic of the Gotti shooting came up, the entire mood shifted. Things started getting tense fast. According to Gavin, Juke was extremely careful when it came to conversations like this, especially around phones. During the discussion, he reportedly stopped everyone and made it clear he didn't want sensitive talk happening near any devices. As Gavin described it, Juke said, "Hold up, man, we ain't doing no talking around these phones." Then he told Gavin directly to take the phones outside before anything else was said. That kind of reaction stood out to many people later, especially after everything became part of court testimony. According to statements connected to Cornelius Smith, it suggested Juke understood how serious these conversations were and how easily they could be recorded or used in investigations. The way he moved showed someone who knew law enforcement could be listening, but who still wanted to address what was happening. The situation became even more intense when Cornelius Smith and Bobby Carter approached Big Juke as he was leaving Gavin's house. They reportedly asked him directly what was going to happen about the alleged attempt on his brother. Gavin said Juke's reaction caught him off guard. Instead of dismissing the claim, Juke reportedly responded with curiosity. As Gavin explained, "To my surprise, Juke didn't say, 'You don't know what you're talking about.'" According to Gavin, Juke then asked how Smith even knew about the situation. Smith answered by saying that Dolph had been talking about it through people close to him. He explained it like this: Dolph had an aunt or a cousin or something over there that lived by his dad, and Dolph had been bragging on the drill that he sent some people to get up with Gotti. That claim added another explosive layer to an already dangerous situation. Once that information hit the room, the entire energy reportedly shifted. According to Gavin's account, Big Juke didn't brush the claim off or act confused about what was being said. Instead, he reportedly focused on one thing: how that information even got out in the first place. The fact that someone was openly talking about an alleged attempt on Yo Gotti's life immediately raised serious concerns. Gavin explained that Juke started asking questions, trying to figure out exactly who had been speaking and where the story was spreading from. In situations like this, word traveling through the streets can move faster than anything else. Once people start talking, rumors, details, and accusations begin bouncing across the city within hours. According to the testimony, the idea that Dolph had supposedly been bragging about the situation made the moment even more tense. If someone truly believed their family member had just been targeted, hearing that the other side was celebrating it would only make things more explosive. The conversation quickly turned serious, with everyone realizing the situation between the two camps had gone far beyond music or business disagreements. By this point, Memphis was already dealing with heavy tension between both sides. Crews were watching each other closely. Every move was being talked about in the streets, and people connected to both camps were moving carefully. The conflict had reached a level where even small pieces of information could spark major reactions. According to testimony discussed during the case, the situation was interpreted by some people as confirmation that the shooting on Yo Gotti's vehicle had truly happened. Claims also circulated that young Dolph had been connected to ordering the move. Investigators later referenced a reported $100,000 bounty connected to the conflict, and many believe that reward wasn't just about an ongoing rivalry. It was tied directly to retaliation for the alleged attempt on Yo Gotti's life. The investigation into the shooting stayed mostly out of the public spotlight, but according to Govan, who said he reviewed discovery materials connected to the case, law enforcement had information about the incident. Authorities reportedly knew an attack had occurred, yet proving exactly who organized it at the time was much harder. While investigators continued gathering information quietly, the reaction in the streets was immediate. People connected to PRE understood that the situation had reached another dangerous level. An attempt had allegedly been made on one of the most powerful figures in Memphis music, and it didn't succeed. In street culture, missing a move like that raises the pressure even higher, because everyone expects retaliation to follow. At the same time, Yo Gotti reportedly began moving much more carefully. His security tightened, his daily movements changed, and he started operating like someone who knew he could be targeted again at any moment. But instead of talking about the incident publicly, Gotti addressed it in a more subtle way, through his music. On the track Too Official with Big 30, Gotti delivered a line that many listeners connected to the shooting. In the song, he rapped, "Of course shot at me and missed. I hope the Lord bless them." That bar carried a heavy message. It suggested he survived the attempt and was fully aware of what had happened, while also sending a calm but chilling response back to the streets. That's exactly why many people believe Yo Gotti later dropped the track Bulletproof. In an interview, Govan spoke about how artists sometimes send messages through their lyrics without spelling everything out directly. He explained it like this: "A lot of those little lines mean something, you know? But I can't say that's the reason why, but you know from the streets, you know what's up." In other words, the message might not be obvious to everyone, but people familiar with the situation understood what was being hinted at. For Gotti, music became the safest way to respond. Instead of speaking publicly about the alleged attack or giving investigators anything direct to work with, he let the message live inside the lyrics. That approach allowed him to acknowledge what happened, while still keeping distance from any accusations. To outsiders, it sounded like regular rap talk, but to people paying attention, it felt like confirmation that something serious had gone down. The title Bulletproof alone had people talking across Memphis. Many believed it was a clear reference to the armored Rolls-Royce that reportedly saved his life during the shooting. Without that protection, the outcome could have looked completely different. At the same time, the title also worked as a statement of strength, almost like Gotti was showing everyone that he expected danger and was already prepared for it. Some analysts who study rap lyrics say his response was very calculated. He didn't call anyone out by name, didn't give exact details, and never described the incident directly, but the message still landed. The lyrics confirmed that someone had tried to harm him and that he walked away from it. Now, the reason this information is being talked about again comes down to Hernandez Govan. After beating his case, he has been speaking openly about what was included in the discovery materials connected to the investigation. According to him, discussing those details isn't revealing secrets because the information already exists in official records. As Govan explained during an interview, "How can that be ratting when it's in my discovery? They charged me with lining up the assassination, so how is it ratting? If it's in my discovery, it's in the public domain." He continued by saying the same information being discussed now was originally used by investigators when they were trying to determine what he might have known about the situation. And now those revelations are stirring up new conversations across Memphis. But here's where the situation becomes even more serious. According to Hernandez Govan, Big Juke was reportedly close to facing federal charges before he was killed in Dallas. During an interview, Govan claimed that investigators were actively working on building a larger case. As he explained, they were definitely actively trying to charge Big Juke when he was killed in Dallas. Yes, they were. They just wanted it on a higher scale, federal. That statement suggests federal authorities may have been looking at a much bigger picture. When cases move to the federal level, investigators often examine patterns of activity over time instead of focusing on just one incident. Situations like the shooting involving Gotti's armored Rolls-Royce could become part of a broader timeline showing conflict, retaliation, and organized actions connected to different groups. If investigators were studying events like that, it could help them understand motives and connections between multiple incidents that happened over the years. Moments like the alleged attempt on Gotti's life combined with later events involving young Dolph, would naturally draw attention from authorities trying to piece together the entire story. When Govan was asked whether more people might still face charges related to the case, he responded by saying, "There's nobody left to charge. Who they gonna charge?" But that comment came before he began publicly discussing some of these additional details about the shooting involving Gotti. Even today, many people say the tension connected to this rivalry didn't simply disappear. After young Dolph's passing, loyalty to his legacy remained strong among supporters and people connected to his movement. Conversations in Memphis still bring up the history between the two camps, and the earlier incidents, including the reported shooting involving Gotti, continue to be part of the larger story people debate when talking about how intense that rivalry became. And that's what makes this whole situation in Memphis still feel tense even today. When a rivalry reaches the level this one did, it doesn't just disappear overnight. Too many people were involved, too many moments happened, and too much history was built up between both sides for everything to simply fade away. Even after the major headlines and court cases, the streets kept remembering the events that led up to everything. People still talk about the alleged shooting involving Yo Gotti's armored Rolls Royce and how close that situation reportedly came to ending differently. 60 rounds hitting a vehicle in broad daylight is the kind of moment that sticks in people's memories for years. At the same time, loyalty remains a powerful force around young Dolph's legacy. Fans, friends, and supporters continue honoring what he built with Paper Route Empire. His music, his independence, and the way he carried himself in the industry left a strong impact on Memphis and far beyond. Because of that, emotions connected to the rivalry didn't just disappear when the headlines slowed down. Meanwhile, Yo Gotti kept expanding his business empire and focusing on music, artists, and investments connected to CMG. From the outside, it might look like the situation has cooled down, but many people who follow Memphis culture closely say the history between both camps is still remembered. That's why stories, testimony, and interviews like the ones coming out now keep grabbing attention. Every new detail adds another piece to a complicated timeline that people across the city are still trying to fully understand. "There's no way that I would have been moving like that," Govan said when talking about Dolph returning to Memphis after the alleged attempt on Gotti. That comment hit different because some people now say the same thing about Gotti's movements today. Memphis has always been a city where long memories and street loyalty run deep, and tensions from the past don't disappear overnight. Even years later, the history between the camps still gets discussed across the city. Another major shift people point to is the loss of Big Juke. He wasn't just Yo Gotti's older brother. Many saw him as a powerful figure behind the scenes who helped hold things together. After Juke was killed in Dallas, a lot of observers said the balance around CMG changed. Losing a close family member and key supporter is a huge blow for anybody, especially in a situation already surrounded by pressure and attention. At the same time, the renewed conversation about the alleged 60-round shooting has brought the old rivalry back into public discussion. When stories like this start circulating again, the streets start talking all over Memphis. People remember the history, the music, and the tension that once had the entire city watching both sides closely. For supporters of young Dolph, the connection goes beyond music. Many fans and people around Paper Route Empire viewed him like family and respected how he built his career independently. Because of that, emotions around his legacy are still strong today, and his name continues to carry weight across the city. All of this is why the recent interviews and testimony have grabbed so much attention. Every time new details surface, they reopen conversations about what really happened during those years of conflict. In Memphis culture, stories like this don't fade easily. They stay alive through music, interviews, and the people who live through the moment. And that's why the story keeps getting bigger every time new details come out. What once sounded like rumors floating around Memphis is now being connected to court testimony, interviews, and discovery documents that people are finally talking about openly. When information like that starts surfacing, the whole timeline of events begins to look very different. For years, many fans only saw the rivalry through music, diss lines, subtle shots in songs, and tension between camps online. But behind the scenes, people close to the situation say the reality was far more serious than rap lyrics. Meetings were happening, conversations were being recorded, and investigators were quietly collecting information while the public only saw small pieces of the bigger picture. Now that figures like Hernandez Govan are speaking publicly about what was included in those documents, the conversation around the Memphis rivalry has shifted again. Each new statement adds another layer to a story that already had years of speculation attached to it. People are now revisiting old interviews, old songs, and old incidents, trying to connect every piece together. What makes it even intense is how close some of these moments reportedly came to changing everything. The alleged shooting involving Yo Gotti's armored vehicle, the rise in tension between camps, and the events that followed all became a chain reaction that shaped Memphis hip-hop history. And as more details keep surfacing, the story only gets more complicated. What really makes this situation stand out is how many layers there are behind the scenes. On the surface, people saw two powerful camps in Memphis trading tension through music and reputation. But once court testimony, interviews, and discovery details started surfacing, the story began looking way more complex than anyone first thought. The alleged 60-round attack on Yo Gotti's armored Rolls Royce became one of the most shocking moments people talk about. Just imagine that scene for a second. Broad daylight, dozens of shots fired, and the only thing standing between survival and tragedy was the armored protection on that vehicle. Moments like that changed the energy around the entire rivalry. From that point on, every move both sides made started getting watched closely. Fans analyzed lyrics, interviews, and social media posts, trying to decode hidden messages. In hip-hop culture, artists often speak through their music, and listeners know that certain lines are never random. Meanwhile, Memphis itself became part of the story. The city has always had a tight music scene where everyone knows somebody connected to somebody else. When tension builds in a place like that, news spreads fast through studios, neighborhoods, and industry circles. That's why the story keeps resurfacing even years later. Every interview, every new claim, and every piece of testimony brings another angle to a rivalry that shaped one of the most talked about chapters in modern Memphis rap history, and people are still debating what really happened behind closed doors. Another reason this story refuses to fade away is because of how many unanswered questions still hang in the air. Every time someone connected to the situation speaks out, it adds another piece to a puzzle that people in Memphis have been trying to figure out for years. Some people believe the truth about everything that happened between the two camps has never fully come out. There were too many moving parts: music deals, street loyalty, personal relationships, and business rivalries all mixing together at the same time. When that many factors collide, things can spiral fast. The alleged attempt on Yo Gotti's armored vehicle became one of those moments that people still bring up in conversations today. 60 rounds hitting a luxury truck in the middle of the day is the kind of event that instantly becomes legend in street stories. Even people who weren't there remember hearing about it through the city's rumor mill. At the same time, the impact of Young Dolph's career continues to live on. His independent success inspired a lot of artists who wanted to build their own path without relying on major label control. That legacy still carries serious respect in Memphis and beyond. Because of all that history, every new interview or statement instantly grabs attention. People want to know what really happened, who knew what, and how close some of these situations came to changing everything forever. That alleged 60-round attack on Yo Gotti's armored ride exposed just how serious the tension in Memphis had become. This wasn't just social media arguments or a few diss songs flying around. According to testimony and interviews connected to the case, the situation had reached a level where real violence was being discussed and investigated. Moments like that shooting showed how close things reportedly came to changing hip-hop history forever. The details that later surfaced about the incident made many people realize the rivalry between Young Dolph and Yo Gotti was far deeper than most fans ever understood. It wasn't just about music charts or industry competition. According to accounts discussed in court and interviews, people connected to both sides were moving with intense loyalty and serious emotions tied to their camps. Supporters of Paper Route Empire were known for standing firmly behind Dolph and the movement he built. His independent grind and leadership created a bond that many around him still speak about with pride today. That loyalty is a big reason his legacy continues to carry weight across Memphis and the entire rap world. At the same time, Yo Gotti kept building his empire and expanding CMG into one of the biggest labels in the South. Despite the controversies and stories that continue circulating, his influence in the music industry is still massive, but the history between these two camps shows how quickly success and street politics can collide when tensions go too far. The interviews, testimony, and documents people are discussing today paint a picture of a rivalry that went far beyond entertainment. For many observers, it represents one of the most intense chapters Memphis hip-hop has ever seen. And even now, people are still debating what really happened behind the scenes during those years. If you made it this far, drop a comment and let me know what you think about this entire situation. Do you think the full truth has finally come out, or is there still more to the story? Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who follows Memphis hip-hop news. More deep stories and breakdowns are coming soon, and you don't want to miss the next one.